Hey guys, hope you are good and well over there. This is an excerpt from one of the lessons that I was doing, and it is a character design lesson from one of my personal tutoring series. And I think one of the things that we spoke about here that I'd like to touch on is the issue of school. Do you need to go to school in order to be a realized digital artist? And my answer to that is a resounding no. And I answer this based on personal experience. I have never at any point had to produce my paper of qualification when I was applying for work or being approached for work or being headhunted, because no one cares about that piece of paper. All right. And it's I believe that it is irrelevant, because at the end of the day it is your portfolio that speaks, it is your work that speaks, it is to some extent your experience translated into actual work that speaks. It is your show reel that speaks. All right. There are certain companies, like when I was a lecturer formally, they did ask for my qualification papers, but other than that, it's really, and especially if you cannot afford it and you are forcing things, it is not an economically sound decision to make to get a formal education into digital art, right? Because you will end up with loans that you have to pay off, and you're never going to pay them off, and it's going to be frustrating because you're not going to be able to enjoy your paychecks, because you have to be taking out a certain chunk to pay your student debt. Okay. And this is especially for my middle class and lower class people, people who still have to look to their parents in order to afford their tertiary education, or they score a bursary. And if you score a bursary, good for you, enjoy it, and do not take it for granted. It means that you really are talented. And for those who cannot and who can't even score a bursary, I do have a solution for you. There are people like me out there who give away resources, who sell resources, who offer mentorships, who offer personal tutoring, and at a reasonable fee as well. All right. Had I known what I know now, honestly, I would have taken the alternative route, because at one studio that I used to work with, a group of my friends and myself were calculating how much is it that we have spent in or invested into our education, from high school to a tertiary institution. And one was 50,000, one was 75,000, one was 93,000 that they have spent, in order to get that piece of paper, which quote unquote qualifies them to get work. And the work we were doing at that point wasn't even worth, the piece of papers that we were in possession of. And that is the great irony of it all, that you will spend money that you don't have, and in some cases it is money that you don't have. You have to go for student loans, you have to go to the bank, you have to call a rich family member, so that they can chip in and you can pay them when you work. And now you are under stress to actually find work and settle your debts. And it's not really good to have stress like that. Believe me, I know for a fact, which is why I decided to invest so much time into my craft, because I know the amount of time it took to hone my skills. You know, those sleepless nights, you know, pushing to finish work. And sadly enough, when I was in tertiary, this was a time in my country they introduced what was called load shedding. And what was crappy about load shedding is that at certain designated times, they used to switch the electricity off in certain communities so that the power grid is stabilized. Okay? And you are rendering at that point, and this batch render takes about 2 to 3 hours, and in 20 minutes, you know, load shedding is about to hit. And it's stuff like this that actually tests out your mettle and your patience. All right. And if you have been through some of the stuff that I've just mentioned now, that you had to scramble to get cash, you had to sacrifice a lot of things. You know, people were going out partying, and I was like, damn it, I wanna get my color compositions right and stuff like that. I'm not saying be a nerd, but I'm saying just be mindful of how much value you're putting into something, because when someone is gonna come up to you and go, how much do you charge for a character, you can confidently call out a price, because you know that you either have debts to pay or you have to procure some resources in order to invest into yourself. Okay, so in closing, I just want to say that if you are considering character artist or digital art or graphic design or web design or UI design, before you look for a tertiary education or an institution that will give you a piece of paper and go like, yeah, you qualify for this and this, just check online. There is a ton of resources. Where I used to study, they weren't teaching ZBrush. I taught myself how to use ZBrush, and it's paying the bills now. All right, so before you commit yourself, or before you commit 2 to 3 years of your life, all right, into something formal, okay, I would say if you were prepared to spend 60,000 or 35,000 or 40,000 over the span of 2 years, okay, a decent startup computer, all right, for digital art right now costs about 12 to 15,000. Okay, softwares, you can use them on a trial basis and find what you are happy with. All right, there are tons of resources out there, so get an internet connection. All right, just get fiber or ADSL line or data, and you know, get PDFs, get instructional videos, because honestly, if you are serious about this, then this is just a breeze. So you have spent close to 20,000 as opposed to 45,000, and you are now learning and practicing, and your portfolio is what qualifies you. You know, talk to people, talk to industry experts. I did that, and they responded. And check me out as well. All right, now cheers guys.